Hi guys, welcome to this video. In this video I'll be showing you how this little device, the M-VAVE app, however you pronounce it, can be used and set up with the HeadRush MX5. And in particular in this video I'll be talking about specifically my kind of workflow and how I like to use it, and sort of I'll touch on different areas of different applications you can have with this great little device. I've been using it for the past few weeks. I have to say I'm really impressed with it. For such little price, for where I'm from in the UK, it costs me with delivery about £35, so about $40 or £35. And yeah, I have to say I am really impressed with it. Just even the build quality of these switches, I mean, especially at this price point, they're really good. And I know obviously these are obviously latching switches, and the ones you get on the MX5 are non-latching, but I mean, just the feeling of these, they feel kind of cheap. The device itself, MX5, is truly amazing, but if you've used this for a while now, like I have the MX5, you'll notice that the switches, they don't really work all the time. It's sort of hit and miss. So what I've done is I've just put toppers on these things, aluminium toppers. You can get them cheap off Amazon, but anyway, that's for a different video. Right, so let's get into this. By the way, massive shout out to this channel called Keyboard Mac channel. That's literally the name. I'm just going to double check. Yep, Keyboard Mac channel. Had it not been for this guy, I would have been lost. Initially when I did order this, I was sort of clueless as to how to set it up, because when you do buy this, it comes with very minimal instructions in the box itself, sort of vague, because I think it's made in China. But yeah, it is. Just check the back of it. It's a really clever little device, but it takes a bit of tweaking and setting up in order to get it to work. And you have to use this separate app that you have to download on your phone, which is called, it's an APK file if you're on Android, and you actually have to go to the website, CubeSuite App, that's what it's called, in order to download it. You won't find it on the App Store or Google Play Store. That's what kind of threw me off. But yeah, if you do, in any case, this video by no means will be showing you how to get up started and running in terms of all the functionality. I'd suggest you head over to Keyboard Mac channel. So Keyboard Mac channel. I'll link in the description anyway. And there's like a 3-part video where he basically goes through the manual itself, everything, and I found it extremely informative, useful. And he talks about the program changes, the control changes, difference between that, how to get your cables sorted out with TRS, if you want to use the cable method with TRS to jack, or if you want to use the Bluetooth dongle that you have to buy separately, which I didn't have, so I went for the TRS method. Earlier I did forget to mention that I am using the cable method rather than the Midi Bluetooth. I just find cables more reliable. It's just me. And yeah, you need to make sure both ends are TRS. This is the only wire I had, by the way. So one end was TRS and the other end had an additional microphone to it. But what I did was I had one of these little adapters and found that kind of works too. So TRS, bingo. One end obviously goes into your Midi in on your MX5, and then the other end just goes into the pedal jack, TRS jack. And then that's it, you're good to go. This video I'm making purely just to demonstrate how these tools can be applied to real life workflows. So me, as a musician, what I tend to do, there can be different use cases for this product. So I'm someone who likes to play both live, and you might be someone who just plays live, or you might be someone who just likes to do home recording, for instance, online videos or like tutorials. I'm someone who does a bit of both. And so with me, I kind of like to have ease of use. I prioritize that the most. So what I like to do is have all my presets ready. And another big thing that I like to do when I'm playing live, doing live sets or recording at home, I normally loop a lot of stuff. And it's funny because when we look at the MX5, what I don't like, I absolutely love this multi-effects unit, but the only thing I have an issue with is, in order to get to the looper, you kind of have to hold this switch down, and then you're kind of stuck on this interface. Not really, you could hold this down to get back to your other banks, but what's annoying is, in order for you to say you've hit record and with a certain guitar tone and you're looping with that, and say you want to change to a different sound, you could only either bank down or bank up and just hope that the sound that you wanted is the next one in line, if that makes sense. And yes, it's true, you can set it up, but if you're kind of lazy like me, I don't really like to do that. And so what I did, this is where this MIDI functionality comes in, and I'll just quickly talk you through my setup, what I've done. And I'll give you a little snippet. I'm not going to go too much into the detail of how to set up all the control changes stuff, just things that specifically relate to my setup maybe. I'll show you later in the video, but if you want to really study this and know how to know the ins and outs, do check out his channel. I'm telling you, it's very useful. Okay, so this is what I've done for the first switch. For the first two switches, A and B, I've basically assigned, and this is what I like to do, I like to get as many uses out of each switch as I can. So in my workflow, each switch usually does more than one thing, is where I'm trying to get at. So with these two switches, I have 4 presets, 2 each. And how I've set them up to be called from 2 different banks, so that they can be called as soon as I want them to. They don't have to be in the same bank, basically. So as you can see, this is currently on ambient 1. So if I just turn up my volume on my guitar, this is what it sounds like. Oh, just lost my pick for a moment. There we go, found it. If I hit it again, now I've switched to ambient 2. Essentially quite similar to the previous sound, but you get less of that the reverb tails. And there's a bit of EQing going on there as well. So those are my 2 sounds on this switch. I've done the same thing with this switch as well. So in total I've got 4 presets. I've got another 2 on here. This is my first one, Guru Wet, which is sort of like a twangy blues type of sound, with a bit of wetness. If I hit it again, now I've got my Guru chorus. So again, that sort of twangy, bluesy sound, but it's a bit more dampened and a chorus to it. So those are my 4 sounds. And what I've done here is, this is where my looping setup comes into it. So because I don't really like that other interface, what I've done, if I go back to opening the looping interface, you'll notice I took 3 of the most sort of important functionality out of this interface that I like to use. And to be honest, when I'm looping, I only really need to look down into a screen when it's to access a bank, or say for instance, make sure once I've hit a button, it's loaded up the sound that I've assigned to it. Do you see what I mean? To be honest, when I'm looping, I don't really need to look at anything, because I'm sort of monitoring it by ear, and I know it's kind of doing its thing. So say if this was my looping button, say if I played something and I pressed it, I'd expect for it to loop, and there you go, job done. I could be looking at the ceiling if I wanted to. So that's kind of how I work. And so I thought to myself, okay, I want to make this button loop, and at the same time, if I hit it again, it'll do it the overdub. So this will be doing 2 different things. The first time I hit it, it'll start off the loop. Then the second time, it would basically play back the loop and ready up the overdub. That makes sense. This one, I wanted to use the start and stop functionality. So how it starts and stops it, I wanted to do it here as well. So start my loop, say I'm doing a little breakdown and I'm playing something, and in between I want everything that I've looped just to suddenly stop in the live setup that I'm doing. I want to just quickly tap this switch, bam, that's my set stopped for a little, for like a bar. I could do a little lick, bang, I play it again, start and stop and play, and it plays all of the previous loops that I sort of built up to now. Do you see what I mean? That kind of creative, artistic side to things. And I'm happy enough just to have 4 presets. And to be honest, I could still utilize these 3 if I was in a certain bank and I wanted to work that way. In total, I could basically have 7 different presets. But usually with me, I don't, at any one time, I don't really use specifically for a song or a jam session. I don't really tend to use more than 4 sounds at any one time, so it's fine for me. If you wanted to, you could literally have 8 different sounds here. If you're a person who doesn't really use much looping, you could have 2, 4, 6, 8 if you wanted to. And there's so much other things you could do with the app where you don't simply have to use the latching sort of on or off functionality. You could even have another function where a single tap does something, and then if you hold on to it, it will do something else for each of the switches. But I'll touch on that later in the app. Probably not that. You're better off checking out the other channel for that, where he does a massive tutorial, the 3-part video for that. But yeah, what I'll do now is just quickly show you just a very short, informal live demo of how I use the looper. Okay guys, I'm back. Obviously I had to have a change of a setup here because in order to be looping it, I'll have to be using my feet. So yeah, it's a bit tricky with the camera, but I think I've sorted it out now. So all I'm going to be demonstrating here is how I've got the looping set up with these 2 switches, C and D. As you can remember previously, I've got my 4 presets on these 2 switches, 1, 2, 3, 4, and then I want to start and stop my loop with this switch. With the final one, I want to be able to record and overdub. So first things first, in order to create the backing track on my loop, these sounds are not really suitable. I want something a bit cleaner, so I'm probably going to go with my Guru Wet sound, or better yet, the dampened one, the chorus Guru. Yeah, So here we go. So we're going to start recording it. And like I said, if you make any mistakes, that's where your handy stop and start comes in. So say, for instance, if I did make a mistake, so if I went... So as you can see, I intentionally left a bit of space at the end so that it doesn't, it's not in time. So if I was to play it, you notice how there's a bit of a gap there, which is quite annoying. So all you do is you just simply stop it, and then you could just record it again. So this is my first layer of loop that I recorded. I can keep playing it. Or I can be like, oh, I messed that up, let me record it again. So this is what I like about it. And you can switch between each sounds as you're doing it. So see what I mean? I'm going to get my favorite sound back again, especially for the backing chords. And I'm going to try and do it right this time. So let's go. That's a lot better now. It's a bit of a delay, but it doesn't matter. We could give you another go. Sometimes if you're getting distracted, and obviously you're not playing this live, first you're sort of rehearsing it behind closed doors, you could, anytime, you could just stop and start your loop just so you can experiment with other sounds. So if I'm thinking I'm not really comfortable with that one, I could switch to another one of my presets and maybe try it with the loop there. There's a bit of overdubbing there. So you'll notice after I've hit record here and it's played, I've overdubbed the next part. And how I've done it is, I think I've set the loop to be 2 bars. Yeah, because when I initially played it, I set it to 2 bars. So I kind of know when the sort of window before the overdub is going to reset. So I just hit the overdub button, so the record button again, so I know I'm overdubbing over the 2 bars. It's coming up to the end of the 2 bars. I can just press end, hit it to end it again, and then it'll loop. So I've got 2 layers now. I'm going to try and overdub something else on top of it. So, and again, what I forgot to mention earlier, what I did a bit of tweaking with my 3rd switch. Notice how I have it to start and to stop my loop. I've added a 3rd bit of functionality because if you're lazy like me, I try to utilize the switches as best as I can and try and get them to do more than one thing. It's got a third functionality. So notice how earlier I said you can even hold down switches for it to do something else. So in this case, I thought it's going to be very handy, especially if you're someone like me who does make mistakes every now and then, to have the peel functionality. So with my start and stop loop switch, if I hold it down, it'll peel the loop. So just to demonstrate, if I play, I'm going to play something, a mistake. So notice that third overdub wasn't really a mistake by any means, but just for the sake of the video, say if I wasn't happy with that, I can easily peel it off. So notice I'm going to play it, and then as soon as I hold the third foot switch down, which is usually assigned to my play and stop, but with the additional peel, once I hold it down, the third layer should be written off after that. So I'm going to press play. That part is going to go when I hold it down now. Oh, why is that not working? Yep, there we go. Sorry. It's because I'm wearing socks, I'm not really pressing into it, but now you'd see the third one's gone after I hold it down. See? If I was to hold it down again after I played it, you see? We're back to square one now without it first loop, and I can start doing something else. So yeah, you kind of get the idea now. And so this is why I love this. This thing right here is so versatile. This is simply just one of the applications you can use it for. And obviously I've got this hooked up into my DAW, and although I'm showing you the sort of live workflow that I tend to use, you could also be doing it for recordings when you're at home or when you're in the studio, especially if you're recording to a DAW. And the problem I used to always have, or most musicians when they record a piece of music, especially if you're doing guitar lines and parts, different parts, is you might have your favorite guitar plugin, VST, in the DAW that you use. And quite often what you notice is you can't really use more than one tone at once without having specialist gear, especially when you're recording. So there's kind of two ways about it, especially when you're doing a live recording take, especially in one take. You're kind of stuck with one tone. And I guess, obviously, if it's a dry signal, I mean, for monitoring purposes, you could just use that one sort of tone that you're stuck with. And then in retrospect, when you're sort of mixing and editing in post, you could sort of chop those guitar parts up, and then obviously when you get to the chorus solo or whatever, you can apply your different tones to it in retrospect. You could do it that way. That's how I used to do it. Or you could be someone that literally starts and stops. So you could do it if you're not used to playing in one take, you could sort of play once you've done the intro in, I don't know, some sort of EQ'd chorusy type tone, you could have clean, and then you stop your DAW, then you're like, okay, now I need to go back into my VST, pick the next thing because I'm going to go into the verse and I want a bit of a more crunchier tone. Then do you see what I mean? Then you have to start recording again, blah blah, and it kind of kills. It doesn't kill your workflow because it's sort of you're still getting things done, but in terms of it kills your creativity a bit, because if you didn't really have that to worry about, you just carry on playing, knowing that, oh, it's still recording. Do you see what I mean? So having this kind of, and there's so many ways of, I'm going to do a separate video, by the way, and showing you my favorite plugin that I use. I basically use Guitar Rig in my DAW, Ableton, and I'll try to do a tutorial with that where you can MIDI map each of these things to do all of this, if not more, within your favorite guitar plugin, so that when you're doing live takes, especially in a recording atmosphere, you can literally, like butter, man, with your feet, just switch between presets, and it's just, you never have to basically stop recording, is the point I'm trying to make. And I honestly believe that helps. That has made my playing improve tenfold, if I'm being honest. So yeah, do check that out when I post it. So yeah, that's it really, guys. I think towards the end of the video I'll be showing you the exact control changes, program changes, mapping since that I applied to achieve this setup. Sort of go through the smartphone app, that kind of thing. Yeah. Hi guys, so I'm in the CubeSuite app, and I've just connected to my M-VAVE device via Bluetooth. As you can see, it's showed up here. So if I just go into that by pressing on it, just connecting to it, and as you can see, out of all the modes, I am using the advanced custom mode. This enables me to be very flexible with each switch, and in a moment you'll see why. So if I go into the first switch, out my 4 switches, foot switch A. So remember, foot switch A and B, those two have a total of 4 presets, 2 each. And what you noticed at the top where it says mode, you can switch between all these different modes when you go into it. And the one I'm specifically using, if you remember previously as I mentioned, is the single step switch between 2 banks, because I don't want to really be limited to 1 bank. I want it to be whatever preset I set it to recall, I want it to be literally from anywhere, basically. So that's the one I selected, and you'll notice for my first preset, you press on the add button, and basically, as you can see, for data 1, this is a program change. Again, if you don't understand any of this terminology, I advise you to watch the video that I've linked in the description. It's the Keyboard Mac channel video, where it's a 3-part long video where it goes over everything, what a program change is and what a control change is. And what I've done is I've set it to data 9, and what that is, it's a hardware assignment on my preset in the MX5, where when you go to you press on the 3 dots, you go into hardware assign, and you can assign a MIDI assignment. But do bear in mind though, this app starts off where with its presets, it starts off at 0 rather than 1. So 9 here will be a 10 as your MIDI assignment in your preset. So you, once you've set that to 9 or whatever number, make sure it's just 1 up when you hardware assign it in the MIDI assignment of your favorite preset to 10. In this case it's 9, it's going to be 10 over there. Yep, so that's the first one done for the switch. Then I added a bank B, pressing the plus button, and as you can see here, if I go into this one, program change, is to 10. And so I like to just work up numbers. You really could use any number, and yeah, also yeah, and what I've set to 10 here, whatever preset I like for the second preset of this switch, I've set it to 11. Make sense? Hope it does. Okay, great. Same story here with foot switch B. So you can see single step switch between 2 banks mode. I've got A and B. So I've got 14 here. I've assigned it as 15 on my MX5, whichever preset. These are my 2 guru sounds, or my sort of twangy bluesy sounds. I believe that's the wet one, and then that's the chorusy one. Yep. Right, so moving on to the loopings setup now for switches C and D. going to see that it will be our start and stop button with the additional peel. So what I've done is I've set up step short mode or step long mode in bank A, and this refers to the HeadRush MX5 manual. Again, you can find this all in the Keyboard Mac channel, or if you just Google MX5 HeadRush manual PDF, you'd be able to find it yourself. And this refers, you'll have to look at the control change numbers to what refers to the start and stop buttons basically in the MX5. And as you can see, I've done a CC for 69 and 0. That means to start. And if I go back, I've done again 69 1 to 7, which is to stop the loop. Control change. If I go into bank B, again mode step short or step long, this time 72. I've done 0 and 1 to 7, and what that does is basically it does the peel. There you go. If we go into D, foot switch D, we've got 70 against 0 and 1 to 7 basically mean kind of start and stop. So I'm recording, stop recording, and overdub, as you can see in bank B. There you go. So I hope that helps you guys. If this video helped you guys, please like and subscribe. Also, if there's something that you're unsure of, or if there's an issue that you need a bit of help solving, do post it down in the comments. I'll try my best to help out. Even if I can't, we've also got the YouTube community. I'm sure there'll be other people in the comments who might have gone through the same issue that you've been facing, and maybe they hopefully be able to offer some insight into it to help you out. But yeah, that's a wrap. Thanks for watching, guys. Hope that helps.